Welcome back to the program, everybody. Welcome back to another show. Welcome back to another episode. Good morning to all of my viewers, listeners, and Soul Tribe family. The name of this program is called It's a Conspiracy, But It Ain't No Theory. It's a Conspiracy, But It Ain't No Theory is a nonprofit social service agency servicing the needs of families and foster children at risk. Lending my voice to help raise awareness by soft publishing a book trilogy called Lucy's Lair. Lucy's Lair is a graphic novel based on true events following my life as a freelance artist. This program is intended to help encourage, heal, and empower survivors of cancel culture and rape culture, providing free evidence and free information regarding child abuse, sexual assault, domestic violence, electronic harassment, gang stalking, conspiracy, and true organized crimes against humanity. Your company can help by providing funds in a grant or by donating goods and services as I continue delivering this information to the public and advocating for foster children in need. Thank you in advance for all of your support. On today's episode, I'm going to be discussing gang stalking plus, surviving the New World Disorder per usual, surviving manufactured chaos, surviving manufactured karma, surviving white genocide, and surviving the electronic targeting holocaust. My name is Adrienne Alese. I am the author and creator of a book trilogy called Lucy's Lair Part 1, 2, and now 3. Lucy's Lair is a book trilogy reflecting my life as a survivor of rape culture, child sex trafficking, and psychological gas chambers. On this program, I advocate for women's rights, basic human rights, and the rights of those disabled. I also advocate on behalf of the foster children in the CPS system, orphans, single mothers, foster mothers, and those less fortunate. Targeted individuals or trafficked victims are predominantly women. 65 to 70% of targeted individuals are white American women or those who identify as such. This makes gang stalking an illegal operation or hate crime that is sexually and politically motivated towards American women and their children. This program is a dedication to the targeted individual community. The objective of the opposition, or the counterintelligence program, COINTELPRO 2.0, is to subvert all of the target's potentiality, to terminate and to punish all supporters and sympathizers, to round down the target's output and audience, to marginalize the target, to eliminate connections and networking ability. On today's episode, I'm going to be reviewing how the counterculture uses sex trauma for anchoring, sex addiction, porn addiction, trauma-based mind control, trauma bonds, anchoring for neurolinguistic programming, and cognitive dissonance. Chapter 18, Overview of Harassment Methods Used by FBI's COINTELPRO Operation Gladio, Covert Community Recruits and Stay Behind Armies, or Instruction Manual for Community Gang Stalkers. General operations in general are of the active surveillance type, which include spying, domestic espionage, domestic servitude, hacking, phishing, data breach, data and metadata theft. Active passive surveillance is watching a target covertly to obtain private information about the target that will be used for counterproliferation targeting programs. Exploiting the target's vulnerabilities, such as whereabouts, etc. Surveillance is the foundation of all psychological operations. Both community-based agent, visual surveillance, and electronic surveillance are used. Intercepting to sabotage the target's reputation, intercepting to sabotage the target's public image, intercepting to systemically segregate the target, intercepting to sexually oppress and to sexually deprive the target, intercepting to suppress the target's monetary success, Intercepts are where community-based agents will appear to, quote, just coincidentally cross paths on foot with the target. Once the target has been sensitized to the point of realizing they are under surveillance and punishment, they will recognize and be made appropriately uncomfortable by the simple act of multiple community-based agents, quote, just happening to cross paths with them. Your local control center will instruct you as to how you will be cued to perform an intercept. Often you will have an on-site supervisor position you and give you hand signals as to when to start your movement to intercept the target. Physical sabotage. Physical sabotage is very important in that it lets the target know that they are totally helpless to stop it and can't even complain about it effectively without appearing mentally ill. Sabotaging the target's reputation. Sabotaging the target's reputation and all that goes with it, such as ability to earn a living, business and personal relationships, is a very special operations category. Suffice it to say that it is possible to apply incentives which cause even people closest to the target to cooperate. Suffice it to say that it is possible to apply incentives which coerce even the people closest to the target to participate. These incentives are applied by specialists from our organization at higher than the local level. For the community level, community-based agent, the work of sabotaging the reputation of the target takes the form of simply performing intercepts, carrying out instructions from your local control center or on-site supervisor, also known as a handler, as to what you say or what you do, to whom, how, and when. Discrediting targets. While the powerful silent support of operations by the justice and psychiatric systems has been sufficient to prevent the target from informing the general public, the area of discrediting targets is an ongoing activity. Like sabotaging the target's reputation, discrediting their public statements, discrediting their public image, discrediting their public appearances, websites, media appearances, and the like are done under the supervision of psychologists and psychiatrists at their staff. The idea is to focus the neighbor's attention to the target's behavior, hinting that maybe the target is mentally ill. The idea is to focus the abuser's attention to the target's reaction, staging a psychological collapse. It is a special honor for community-based agents to be chosen for target discredit action work. Remember that the goal is to have the target aware they are being punished, but not be able to convince anyone else that that is the case. Exploitation of illusory explanations to conceal directed energy crimes. Advanced electronic surveillance along with this manual and field operations people are used. Psychologists are the key to find ways to maximize feelings of stress and hopelessness in the target and degrading the target's health. The control center always has the target's position monitored. Community-based agents are given a cell phone number for reporting target actions and movement to the local control center. Computer programs predict exactly when and where a target will be as they move throughout the community. On-site supervisor has special means of giving and receiving instant silent instructions to and from the control center. Some examples would be encrypted inversions, reverse psychology, subliminal text messaging. Intercepts are where community-based agents appear to, quote, just coincidentally cross paths on foot or by vehicle with the target. Sabotage of target's reputation is special operations category, done by spreading rumors consisting mainly of lies. The goal is to covertly keep negative information about the target flowing throughout the community via proxies, rumors, campaigns, or rallies, gossip columns, etc. The organization has many top psychologists and psychiatrists on permanent staff at headquarters. Their job is to design campaigns to destroy the target's life. Punishing the target at the target's home and in the community is essential for effective Secret Service operations to create a, quote, prison without walls. Psychological operations are carried out 24/7 in shifts. The goal of the new war is the psychological collapse of new enemies or enemies of the state using a combination of overlapping tactics. Defeating new enemies involves the synchronized use of non-lethal directed energy weapons, isolation, deprivation, and psyops against individuals and groups, most commonly known as targeted individuals. This new war is fought for political purposes and revolves around the issue of gaining the support and influence of the general population. These weapons can target the brain, causing changes in brain chemistry which manipulate thoughts and emotions. Particular frequencies and modulations will trigger precise chemical reactions in the brain, which produce specific emotions in the targeted individual, which also provokes specific reactions in the targeted individual. For instance, 6.6 pulses a second can induce severe sexual aggression in men. Sexual harassment is the frequency. The U.S. military states that the goal is to overwhelm the target by attacking all 5 senses plus motor and cognitive functions. Peace operations involve synergistic coordination of psychological operations, military deception, operations security, effects-based operations, neocortical warfare, political warfare, psychological warfare, also known as command and control warfare. Psychological operations and dark psychology are a major part of the new war and a core part of civilian military operations that is combined with electronic warfare and computer network operations. PSYOP units work with the civilian population as irregular forces to attack targets in the area of operation. PSYOP operators profile targets and devise themes to attack their targets. Ultimate goal of PSYOP is to modify the behavior of the target by destroying their will using a relentless attack consisting of painful triggers. A type of audiovisual product known as PSYACT includes agents of action who carry out plays in the presence of the target. Every single channel of communication the target uses for information is interfered with. PSYACT's psychological actions are audiovisual products consisting of, quote, agents of action who deliver messages to a target. Agents of action follow a set of guidelines while, quote, play acting to deliver the messages. Psyacs usually utilize multiple people to transmit messages. Trauma themes are presented in a performance similar to a play, live-action role-play, theater, or movie production set. The military sometimes employs people from theater actor guilds and modeling agencies. A sexual predator or human sex trafficker or gang stalker will pose as an actor or actress under the guise of an innocent bystander to profile and attack targets, to enable a cycle of ritual violence, psyche profiling, to attack your mind, to attack your heart, to shatter your confidence, to misguide you, to generate mistrust, to sabotage your relationship, to sabotage your reputation, to cause you to doubt your reality, to facilitate an electronic holocaust. Psyacs occur during rallies, rumor campaigns, work group meetings, lectures, theater, plays, speeches, dances, banquets, fiestas, festivals, religious activities, public appearances, talks with individuals during interviews on talk radio shows, and other social activities wherever the target goes. Especially work. Messages may be subtly transmitted during these events. Agents of action follow general scripts that can be modified as needed. This type of communication includes, quote, trauma words, trigger phrases, or trigger themes spoken by the actors in the presence of the target. U.S. military states that the ultimate goal of planned operations is to modify the behavior of the target by destroying their will to live. This is brought about by continually inflicting pain. This is accomplished by a relentless campaign used to demoralize the victim that will create perpetual feelings of intense fear and hopelessness. The Department of Defense describes this as an attrition-based approach. Attrition is the product or gradual erosion of the will. Attrition is the product or gradual erosion of the will. The victim of this psychological attrition gradually becomes convinced that nothing he or she can do will yield a satisfactory outcome to any given situation. In PSYOPs, trauma themes are used to transmit painful stimuli, also called triggers, through all his or her channels of communication which a target has been sensitized to. For instance, when the female target is on her period, this is how she will be harassed in the video clip you see on the reel. Trigger and trauma themes are understood at the strategic, operational, and tactical levels of the campaign, and they are passed to various commanders of particular areas of operation if the target moves towards that portion of the battle space. The triggers are part of a behavior modification program called NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, which uses anchors and trauma or triggers to promote neurological change. An anchor is created when an emotional state is linked to something such as an object, person, sound, smell, place, color, etc. And so this relationship with the mock death ritual serves as an anchor for trauma bonding, and for trauma-based mind control as well. Once the anchor is established, whatever the individual was exposed to during the anchoring process becomes the stimulus, trigger, that will provoke the emotion or emotional response or physical reaction. This is easily done amongst men with sex addiction or porn addiction. The anchor then becomes sex. So in this context, this politically and sexually motivated hate crime, or this gender-based violence, in this context, whenever Geron is coerced to participate with the street theater and has a physical reaction, the crime, the sexually and politically motivated hate crime, is projected onto the female partner as the male partner denies that a crime occurred in order to conceal his reaction, his physical reaction. And then the female victim is gaslit. So this trauma bond also serves as an anchor to facilitate not only genocide, but a Holocaust amongst those who are still surviving. PSYOPs are a planned process of conveying messages to a target audience to manipulate certain attitudes, emotions, and behavior. These messages are typically conveyed using a line of persuasion known as a theme. Exploitation of illusory explanations to conceal directed energy crimes, to cover for the FBI, essentially. Exploitation of illusory explanations to cover, to conceal. So this is an extreme cover-up. It's an extreme hate crime that is sexually and politically motivated towards women and their children. And as a result, there is an extreme cover-up going on. A cover-up to tie up any loose ends, a cover-up to conceal the crimes that were committed, and a cover-up to conceal the truth. Chapter 18, Overview of Harassment Methods Used by FBI's COINTELPRO Operation Gladio. Covert Community Recruits and Stay Behind Armies, or Instruction Manual for Community Gang Stalkers. Total Individual Control Technology by Omniscience. So this would be a crime against humanity. I guess in a nutshell, that's where we can start. A massive cover-up to conceal the truth. And this information or this research that I've done, it is just the tip of the iceberg. It does not really fully go into details. And, every day and every week it's something different. It's something new. So, what I'm getting ready to briefly review is just the essentials. It's just the base. It's just the base or the core, whichever you prefer, however you want to call it. And they even say it in their own words, in their own manual, that this isn't the full scope. So keep that in mind. All right, but in any case, to continue, organized stalking. So this is how they go about consuming or just possessing total individual control. And they're using technology, and this is provided by Omniscience, I guess, according to their own manual. I don't know what Omniscience is, but Omniscience sounds like something super sinister. It sounds like AI without a soul. It sounds like something that I'm not really even sure how to fully describe. So it may not even be like a human being. A lot of the gang stalkers that they're using for these counter-proliferation targeting programs, which is essentially a depopulation agenda. A lot of the people that they're using in these programs are criminals. They're psycho-sadists. And in my opinion, that is not a person. That's not a human being. That sexual predator stalker, you can call it a home-wrecking whore if you want, whichever you prefer. That, in my opinion, is an entity that lacks a conscience and therefore cannot be connected to God at all, in any way, shape, or form. So it's a demonic force. It's like a team or a force field of sadists and psychos and sexual predators. You know, these are not healthy, normal human beings. Most of them are criminals. So they're quite literally giving them jobs right out of prison, right out of the prison system. And this is one of their jobs, to harass innocent civilians like this, to sexually exploit them, to sexually harass them, to use sex as an incentive to get the male partner to leave, which, you know, is never going to materialize. Again, it's a demon. It's not going to materialize. You might feel like in your fantasies or your delusions of grandeur that this is coming to pass, that this is materializing somehow, some way. And that's exactly and precisely what they want you to think. So don't be an idiot. Don't be tempted by the devil just because they come around to flash their ass. So fucking what? Who cares? What you want, a cookie, bitch? A fucking standing ovation, bitch? Nobody knows your name. You're still a fucking nobody that works for a corrupt political system. And that's it. What the fuck do you want, a cookie, bitch? Because God knows that thing between your legs is not a fucking vagina. If your ass is that big, I can't even imagine how fucking busted your pussy is. Anyways, that little labia ain't even a labia. It's like a fucking, it's practically a dick at this point, okay? And so these men that are in these relationships with these female targets, they stop to check out these honeypots, and it causes conflicts, political conflicts in their relationship, because it's a politically and sexually motivated hate crime. So I can say what I want because I'm under coercion. And this is what happens when you sexually exploit somebody and ritualistically sexually harass them. So, girl, you got a nice fat ass. You got a nice fat ass. What you want? A standing ovation? What you want? A cookie? What are you waiting for? You want my man? You want to play games with his mind? You like to manipulate people's emotions? Oh, okay. Well, you need to go somewhere with that sex magic because, you know, I'm rising above that and alchemizing that all day long. But what do you want? Well, what do you really want? But what do you really want? To deprive some lovely lady of love? Simply that? Is that what you want? Girl, you need a standing ovation. Here you go again. Here you go again, girl. There you go. You worked hard for it. Go ahead. Go ahead. Take your cookie. Take your spiritual cookie, because God knows that thing between your legs is anything but a cookie, bitch. So anyways, this is more or less how they're going about trying to remote control and demonically possess or stage a demonic possession. All right, so individual control technology by omniscience. Again, that's super sinister. Everybody working for that agenda is super sinister. A psychosadist, lacks a conscience, a sexual predator, a stalker, a harasser, whatever you want to call it, I don't really care. Organized stalking, electronic harassment, the new high-tech version or generation of COINTELPRO. So I think it's really interesting that the gentleman that called, and he said he worked for the FBI. I find that really hard to believe for my own personal reasons. But so in any case, he said he worked for the FBI, and he doesn't know about these operations, these clandestine and covert operations. I find that also hard to believe. So it's so covert and clandestine, it's so top secret and confidential that they will deny the fact that the program even exists, when in reality, the research and the truth, it is available online for free. So it's just really interesting how they go about using technology to discredit, to defame, and to essentially depopulate So when the victim uses the same exact technological device to do community outreach, to raise the awareness level, to make sure people know the truth, it takes the war or the battle kind of more or less outside of the mind of the genius, and then it's portrayed online as well as in person. But so these wars, like these individual targetings, like with myself, this is, I guess you can say, upstaged in the news. So it's like completely fabricated. And this is their form of like reverse engineering the truth, or reverse engineering what they would consider alien technology. Because just as I just explained, in my opinion, it's my belief that a person that lacks a conscience and doesn't think for themselves is not a human being. That's not a healthy human being. A psychosadist is a demon. A person who lacks a conscience and denies the truth, same exact situation. Also a demon. So that is, a demon is an alien. And so that is exactly the rule that they try to apply or try to adhere to the target. They are demonizing the target 24/7. And then, of course, when they practice this ritual of demonization, it no longer views the target as a person. So, which is a form of projection, because it can't accept all of the flaws and the errors that it has made. And so because it can't accept the fact that it is lacking a conscience, that it is participating in satanic rituals for satanic worship and satanic sacrifice, it needs a place to put that. And so it'll try to bury that with its victim. So, in any case, the new high-tech generation of COINTELPRO, in a nutshell, government sources are using directed energy weapons and artificial intelligence to terrorize, threaten, intimidate, discredit, silence, torture, and murder dissidents. So anytime in the handbook manual you see the word punish, or how they go about trying to describe or explain how they're using several different overlapping tactics 24/7 around the clock to make the target feel uncomfortable, they're minimizing and trivializing what it is that they're actually doing. They are torturing these targets. So don't take it out of context. Don't allow the word punishment to be simplified. Don't allow the word or the context or the phrase made to feel uncomfortable. Don't take that out of context. Don't minimize that. Don't trivialize that, because what they actually mean is torture. They are actually torturing these targets 24/7, nonstop, and even in some severe cases while the victim is asleep. So they will also to admit it here in the text themselves as well. So you can see how it will, when they write the handbook out or the manual out for a community-based agent, they put it in a way that makes it seem like it's just life's normal breaks, or trivializes it or minimizes the truth. So that way, the community level, community-based agent is not fully understanding the whole truth, and will be easier to participate, will be easier to manipulate, will be easier to control, to go along with this with these woke mob crimes, is essentially what they are. And so it is exploitation all of the way around, because the people who are participating in this, they are being misled. They are being lied to. They are straight up calling somebody who advocates for victims and survivors of rape culture a pedophile. This is happening regularly. And so this is the reverse psychology, or the encrypted inversions, and this is how they try to flip it upside down and corrupt it. So that way it'll match their narrative. So with the character assassination and with all of the slander, they want it to match the narrative and to fit the narrative. They want the target to fit the mold, essentially, of being a terrorist, of being a pedophile, of being a rapist, of being whatever it is that they say that it is. And then they go in there with the street theater, and they try to reinforce that. Which it's all bullshit. It's all staged. It's completely fabricated from A to Z. So this program that I'm doing is not just the truth. It's the only truth. And so I can't imagine how lost people are in the world and just in the system, within the systems, because they're being lied to 24/7. It's just really sad. So all of this is going on to discredit these targets' victimization. The fact that they were ritualistically experimented on. And this experiment that they're using, it basically involves many different layers of torture. And so in that case, in that context, and in that reality, because that is the truth, the target is actually owed restitutions, millions, if not potentially billions. To continue, in addition, security contractors, amongst others, are being used or hired as military thugs to gang stalk targets, inflicting as much pain and suffering as possible without leaving any marks. Directed energy weapons programs revolutionized this. Counter-proliferation programs are intended to subvert the potentials of a target while punishing them with psycho-sadist techniques. Again, they will use the word punish or punishing or punishment to try to minimize or trivialize the torture that they are applying. So that way, the people who are involved in this, that are complicit, so that way they have a reason to go about doing it and don't feel bad about what it is that they're doing. And in my book, Lucy's Lair, I write about how each and every action of conspiracy, each and every lie, every single thing that you're doing to try to cover up for your crimes, it doesn't make you feel better about yourself. And even psychologists have done their own private studies and have also concluded within those private studies that the people that are participating in these hate rituals never end up feeling fully fulfilled after they've done what they've done. They actually feel worse about themselves. So this doesn't work. This isn't working in terms of treatment for anybody. It's not working for anybody. It's not working for the victim who is being experimented on. And it's not working for the gang stalkers who are doing the gang stalking. One of the reasons why I'm not envious of the honeypot is because I'm aware of how empty inside its mind it actually feels. I'm aware of how each and every time it attacks like this, it'll need to do this again. It'll seek this cycle out ritualistically over and over and over and over again. And over time, it'll eventually have so many victims, which is the problem that I have with it, because this is what I advocate on behalf. These are the people, these are the individuals that I advocate on behalf of. These victims that are being targeted and ritualistically exploited, ritualistically abused, either sexually or physically, psychologically or emotionally, financially, I don't care, spiritually. I advocate on these survivors' basic human rights on this program. And so one of the reasons why you don't see me going on a heyday or whatever, having a field day with these things, is because I'm not jealous of them. I'm not actually jealous of their internal self. It has to keep the cult around 24/7. When it is by itself, it is never able to internalize. Ever, 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 ever. Because of the emptiness that it feels, it's constantly feeling empty inside, which is why it does this in the first place, because it's seeking out narcissistic supply. It's not actually that happy with its body. It's not actually that happy with its life. Just like with the millionaires and the billionaires that hire these little flunkies to do the jobs that they're doing. It's, what is the point in having it all if you're still not happy? And if you're still so miserable, you got to find people to victimize and target. I'll do one better. What is the point in me being jealous of anything that you have when the only reason why you have that is because you ritualistically exploited humanity, human beings, people like myself? You wouldn't have that if you didn't have the scapegoat. You wouldn't have that job, that car, that home, that family, whatever it is, if you yourself were targeted and ritualistically exploited. You wouldn't have that. And in my opinion, you're not better. Your actions prove how much worse off you actually are inside, internally. You're not doing this because you're a happy person, genuinely. You're doing this because you're a pathetic human being. You lack a conscience and you feel bad. You're doing this because you're a criminal and you belong in jail. Essentially, that's where you belong. Hopefully, you will continue to do this and eventually you will get caught like every other criminal because you're a fucking idiot. You're a dumbass. And that's what happens when you jump on the bandwagon, okay? So, yeah, so unfortunately, they will continue these cycles and find new targets to victimize. And so that's why I will continue to show up on this show, on this program, and to speak out against these horrendous crimes that are taking place, and these crimes against humanity, or these woke mob crimes against humanity, whichever you prefer. So anyways, to continue, the murderous and sadistic ethos of government counterproliferation-centered programs are intended to stage a synthetic demonic possession and mimic schizophrenia. The perversions of COINTELPRO are notable. Modern-day COINTELPRO objectives. These are counter-proliferation-centered programs intended to subvert all progress, to discredit the target, to character assassinate, to slander the target, to taint the target's image, to misrepresent the target, to suppress the target's monetary success, to suppress the target's good character qualities or people's awareness of positive aspects of the target, to arrange a partner for the target, to mind control the partner of the target. So I wanted to just go back really quick because it really does go that extra mile, if you will, to force the target into an oppressed population in every way possible. So a lot of these targets aren't even able to get into the church and to get the real healing and to get the pastor to lay hands on them, to deliver them from these intrusive thoughts, maybe these sex addictions or these trauma bonds, whatever they're struggling with. It's according to my research, it's not really anything spiritual or natural at all. It is actually just a program that we've been exposed to, whether it's for testing or whether it's for experimentation, who knows? But it's a programming that we've been exposed to from many cases, for some of us, like myself, since we were born. So we were born into these sick families. And then, luckily for me, I was rescued and rehabilitated. So I have a profound appreciation for life that I feel like my siblings do not have. I have a profound appreciation for life that I feel like my own parents don't even possess. And, well, I guess I'll just save that for another episode. But while I'm on this tip, I did want to mention, so right here where it says in the text or in the manual, to suppress the target's good character qualities or people's awareness of positive aspects of the target. So this is really important to me because every single time this counterculture, this COINTELPRO, or these gang stalkers, these military operatives, whatever you want to call them, every single time they are lying either about me or to me, they actually are mimicking death in a way. So this character assassination or this slander is a slow kill torture program, in that every single time it takes an action to character assassinate, or like this text says, to suppress the target's good character qualities or people's awareness of positive aspects of the target. So every time it does something to suppress your good character qualities, it actually, in its mind, I don't know how to say this, I don't know how to describe this, but like, it's killing you. Like you died. Like your spirit died. Like it broke your mind. Like it's breaking down your conscience. It's chipping away at your sanity. And it's doing all of this in a way that would appear to the general population to be just life's normal breaks, or in a way that would appear to outside observers looking in that maybe the target is mentally ill. It's not true. It's not life. I just wanted to stop and say that this isn't life. This is politics. And so, Christians like myself, we're going to die on the battlefield speaking the truth, right next to our brothers and sisters. So we're not, so we're misrepresented. That's very true. But I'm not dead. I can still sing. I can still throw my hair up and put some makeup on and dress nice and look even just as good, if not maybe better, than the honeypot. And I don't need to have a huge fat ass that is offensive to do that either. Because of my truth, that's enough. Okay, that's enough to bother these things. It's really that simple. I don't even really need to do my hair or do my makeup or put on any nice clothes. Because of my truth, that truth is the slow kill for them. Because they can't take it. And so, I mean, can you imagine when these targets are finally feeling good, looking good, getting the therapy or the help that they need, whatever, I'm just saying, and building healthy relationships and building financial success and moving up in the world, can you imagine how it starts to attack you then? Especially when it comes to the healthy relationships, because being in toxic relationships is the anchor for these things to make sure that you're suffering. And so that the rest of the world will think that you're crazy. So that's the anchor. The toxic relationships is really where it's at. But like I said, imagine me singing at my max capacity, like my absolute best. Imagine me living in a really nice house, driving a really nice car. That's when they start to really, really attack. And they have to do it in a way that is covert and clandestine. They have to do it in a way that seems like if it's just life. They have to do it in a way that is covertly hostile. Like, for instance, just being there, just their presence will make a target uncomfortable because the target knows the truth. And you can be hostile without being hostile, if that makes sense. So, for instance, I went to the store yesterday and I took a video of the gang stalker that stalked me there. And it is quite literally like paparazzi. They're either already there when you get there and they are recording you and they are surveilling you 24/7 and never stops. This is one of the things that these targets are going to have to figure out how to survive, is the 24/7 surveillance. They're surveilling us from satellite. They've got all of these technological devices 24/7. You know, they don't need active surveillance on the target to be surveilling the target at all. They are listening to the private conversations. They are listening to any private information is used to blackmail and to exploit and to extort. So, you know, it makes it really hard for these targets to obtain employment. It makes it really hard for these targets to have healthy relationships. It makes it really hard, almost impossible, for them to reach their full potential. So they will never perform like the way you would see AI perform on the television, like a Taylor Swift or a Beyonce Knowles. It's never going to be possible for these targets, and it's because of these counterproliferation targeting programs. And these programs are ran to depopulate these targets, specifically, in my case, to eliminate competitors in the business workforce and so on and so forth, entertainment in industry and so on and so forth. So I want to emphasize on the fact that these targets are not being victimized because of something that they did, because they have a bad back, because they have epilepsy, because of this, because of that. No, not even close. Although that's how the counterculture will reframe it. They're not being targeted because they're autistic or because they're crazy. No, they're being targeted because their influence, not influence, their inspiration. The counterculture plays on influence because the counterculture doesn't have inspiration. They don't inspire people naturally. So there's a difference between inspiration and influence. People who influence don't have what it takes, the spiritual stamina, to inspire. So, influencing is what the counterculture does because they lack the spiritual stamina to inspire. So I'll leave that to omniscience. I don't influence anything. I inspire because I have this spiritual stamina to do so, and I inspired the entire world to change. I didn't say I saved the world, I said it changed. So anyways, and as crazy as that is, it's true. Isn't it strange how crazy the truth is? Why? Why does the truth have to be crazy? Because I'm not a man? Because I wasn't raised a certain type of way and there's no possible way I could have grown up to change the world? Oh, I have news for you, sweetheart. You've been deceived. You've been lied to. So anyways, that's besides the point. Here I sit in an RV because of all of this monetary suppression and because of all of this oppression. An artist who somehow, who wasn't even trying, by the way, wasn't even trying. It's not like I had this dream my whole childhood to, like I was fantasizing about growing up and changing the world. No, I wasn't even trying, by the way. That's spiritual stamina. They don't even have to try. The inspiration, it just is. And it's beautiful and it's perfect, just the way it is. And so I don't need to influence. I don't need to influence change because I inspired change, quite literally, and every single thing changed. Okay. So I'll leave that influencing to the counterculture because they lack the spiritual stamina that is required for inspiration. There we go. All right, so back to the counter-proliferation-centered programs. These programs are intended to subvert all progress, which is why I'm being suppressed currently and oppressed the way that I am currently. This is the real reason why I'm being investigated by the FBI because of these counter-proliferation targeting programs. All right, and even the FBI will deny that that's the case because it denies the truth, any space to exist. This type of information, they really don't want, out there. They don't want any of our enemies having access to this type of information. So it's a huge honor for myself, somebody like myself, who's really just an artist, a freelance artist. I've done a little bit of modeling and I haven't sang anywhere. As far as gigs go, I've never sang live. But I do a lot of singing. If you know me personally, then you know I'm not shy. So it's more of a personal thing. It's a personal performance. You either know me personally and you've heard my talent, my gift, and or you just don't. You may have heard me perform on YouTube. That is a very recent thing. I never ever wanted to use my gift to get attention because that's highly narcissistic in my opinion. Number one. My gift is more along the lines of a coping mechanism that formed as a result of childhood trauma. I talk about this or I write about this in my book. So it is not a secret. So it's not something that I use as a weapon to get attention or to oppress those who maybe don't know how to sing, because I understand that there is kind of like a scale or some sort of a, how would you say it, some sort of like a pyramid scheme when it comes to those who can't sing at all and those who sing really good. I would probably place myself kind of somewhere in the middle because I don't have the experience that an expert has. So I wouldn't be able to put myself even at the lower level of that top end because I just never seen myself as that great or as that good because I lack the the expert experience, if you will. But I have been performing, I have been singing, and this is something that people around me know very well. I have a reputation for that, and I've accumulated that since a very young age. So anyways, to continue, there are some people who don't sing at all. They probably think I sing great. There are some people who are experts, and they probably think I sound like trash. Okay, it's understandable. But to each their own. I'm an artist nonetheless, and I never set out for any of these things to happen, to take place, to occur. It was never a part of my agenda. It just happened. And so to Duran's family, I owe them an apology because I'm a woman of my word. I wouldn't just be out here speaking all of these, saying all of these ridiculous claims or making all of these ridiculous accusations if I didn't genuinely believe that to be true. And so again, you would have to have formed a personal relationship with me to know certain things about me. That is something that this counterculture will cut corners and just use the device to exploit a person. So instead of getting to know them, they actually just don't do any of the work whatsoever, and they exploit every facet of the target's life. So anyways, back to the counter-proliferation centered programs that are intended to subvert all progress, to discredit the target, to character assassinate, to slander the target, to taint the target's image, to misrepresent the target, to suppress the target's monetary success, to suppress the target's good character qualities or people's awareness of positive aspects of the target, to arrange a partner for the target, which is just really, really sad because this is also exploitation right here in and of itself. But if you're paying attention at all, even though this is not the full scope, you will see for yourself that this whole entire thing is exploitation. So, to continue, to arrange a partner for the target, to mind control the partner of the target, to destroy relationships of the target. And I've said this before, but I'll say it again. This counterculture, they're experts at destroying relationships. So the reason why all of your relationships are toxic, is because of the programming and the narcissistic or the group think, the cult think. And so it's no wonder why they all feel the same exact way, okay? How can it be that every single person, including my own child, has physically abused me? How can that be possible? So anyways, to continue. To co-opt the target's manifestation cooperative, which refers to a jointly owned or operated enterprise or organization, which is what I believe this counterculture tried to, at least attempted to do when I wrote Lucy's Lair. And I was really proud of myself at the time because I went from being somebody who could barely even write a song. If you guys know, I've always had this almost kind of like a writer's block where I've been writing music for a really long time, but for whatever reason, I just can't. And I believe it's because of the neurological disruptors, but a lot of the times I won't be able to go back and finish my song. So, I mean, I've got like hundreds of songs probably at this point that I'll get a melody to and I'll start writing it and the words will start coming. And at first it'll flow in naturally and beautifully and wonderfully. And it sounds great and the melody's beautiful, and in many cases will even bring grown men to tears. That's how beautiful it sounds. And but for whatever reason I just won't be able to come back in there and finish it. So I went from being an artist who could barely write a song, but I will say I do write music. I write music all the time. But not to get too personal with it or anything like that, but I do write my own music with my own melodies and original bits all of the time. They come and go constantly. I feel like I just don't have the equipment that I really need to be able to write music adequately. Okay, so I haven't really reached that peak yet. I haven't got to that point yet. So I'm still working on that. And there's a lot of neurological issues, anxiety, stage fright, stuff like that that goes behind it too. And now I have this stimuli behind the electronic device since it's been hacked and I was exploited. So like, for instance, I can sing naturally, raw, without being recorded, just the same way I speak naturally in a conversation. And I won't hesitate or get anxiety or stutter or fumble my words at all. But now, since the device has been hacked and since there's all this external stimuli, like, I can literally feel the hate through my device, through the algorithms. I can feel the hate. Okay, whereas in contrast to that, Jaron is being encouraged and he's being mirrored, and there's all of this empathy. Like, you can feel in his device and in his algorithms, there's a big difference. Okay, so he's being encouraged to commit these petty crimes, or just be toxic, or just be entertaining ideas of infidelity and so on and so forth. But and then because what I'm doing is actually right, and the system can't really profit off of people who aren't criminals, so I'm being basically persecuted because of my righteousness, because of my faith, and then everything that I say is inverted. So it's just really sadistic. But like I was saying, the part where it says that they co-opt the manifestation. To co-opt the target's manifestation, cooperative, which refers to a jointly owned or operated enterprise, or organization. So right here, I feel like they attempted to do this with that movie about pedophiles. What is it? The Sound of Freedom, or something like that. And they've actually made tons of other movies also. That's just one of the most obvious or more obvious ones. And then, but to continue on this list, it says to turn the target into controlled opposition in terms of beliefs and actions, to incriminate the target, to round down the target's output and audience, to marginalize the target, to eliminate connections and networking ability, to suppress the target's personality, sanitization of pleasure, emotions, and individuality, to punish the target, to torture the target, to destroy the target's life, to stop a target from procreating, ending a target's bloodline, eugenics, to suicide the target, to covertly assassinate the target, to cover up the targeting operation if they see too much power and originality coming out of someone. And if you're an artist, then that would be likely the case. If they see too much power and originality coming out of someone, they either use it and siphon it, or they undermine it in order to neutralize it. COINTELPRO 2.0 methodology, covert remote influencing technology. COINTELPRO 2.0 thought surveillance, neural AI net for psyche profiling. COINTELPRO 2.0 directed energy weapon mind control network for counterproliferation targeting programs. AI-based retrocausation extensive international neural monitoring programs can calculate a target's potentials before the target is aware of them. Counter-proliferation programs are intended to subvert the potentials of a target while punishing them with psychocytus techniques. Mind control of people who provide opportunities for the target. Use of family against the target. An example, mind control of family. Gang stalking, organized stalking, trauma-based mind control, no-touch torture, character assassination, slander via proxies, technological illusions, psyops, misdirection, electromagnetic mind control aimed at discrediting the target, mind control of people who provide opportunities for the target. Use of pharmaceutical drugs against a target to orchestrate the detaining of the target in a psych ward. to orchestrate the detaining of the target in a psych ward, V2K, and in the form of subliminal messages to get a target diagnosed as a, quote, paranoid schizophrenic. Exaggerated, warped, and untrue slander about the target is proliferated. Technology playing devil's advocate via implanted thoughts to get a target in trouble. Technology playing devil's advocate via intrusive thoughts to get a target in trouble. Agenda to incriminate the target. Advice for COINTELPRO targets, stay lawful. Advice for COINTELPRO targets, stay lawful. Use of ego against a target. Weaponized mind control against a target. Coercing of a target into appearing overly paranoid, an objective of stalking. Specific technological control of a target's body language or vocal tone, an example to generate mistrust. And this is how they're going about sabotaging the relationship as well. Total individual control. Technology is used as a tactic to take away a citizen's rights through faulty mental illness diagnosis. Outlandish black project science. Technology experiences intended to discredit when spoken. Use of electronic control grid. 2. Mind control misfortunes for a target. Synthetic social phobias. Synthetic social anxiety. An example, public speaker related suppression. Suppression of whatever platform the target is talented in. An example, music production, software design, etc. To dehumanize a target via electromagnetic neuroscience. To dehumanize a target via electromagnetic neuroscience. So that's kind of more or less what you see in the movie Atlas with J-Lo when they are shocking the guy's head or brain in order to interrogate him or just whatever. To alienate a target via electromagnetic neuroscience. Excuse me. To demonize a target via electromagnetic neuroscience, neurological disruptor technology, dream manipulation technology. Severe targets are sanitized of pleasure, emotions, and personality. Synthetic suicide programming. Technology enables serial killers with a taste for revolutionaries and activists. An electronic targeting holocaust. While all these traditional tactics have proven fruitful throughout time without wanting effectiveness, the agencies involved in extreme cover-ups prefer another tactic that seems to have withstood the test of time. That is labeling someone a paranoid schizophrenic or mentally ill. Once that label has been attached to someone, almost all testimony will be disbelieved. The military has employed this tactic since the 60s to get rebellious soldiers and others locked up in mental hospitals. Since weapons testing of neurological disruptor technology has begun on the general population beginning in the early 60s and then stepped up to full throttle in 1976, the scope of what is considered mentally ill had to be reprogrammed into a broader definition for the general population. Sex trauma anchoring. The cause of this condition are well understood. Some experts believe it may be a combination of different factors. Chemical imbalances, sexual trauma, and neurological disruptors are some factors. Sex addicts often report feelings of guilt, shame, and remorse associated with their sexual trauma. Addicts may feel hopeless and powerless in their situation, believing they have no control over their sexual thoughts and actions. Therefore, they get stuck on a loop of negative behaviors. Sex addicts often develop an insecure, avoidant attachment style because to attach as children meant to disappoint, abandonment, inconsistency, abuse, neglect, or shame. These children grow up to be very avoidant of the attachment figures and develop the false belief that they may become codependent upon others to meet their needs. While sex addiction and infidelity often go hand in hand, there are many people who stay true to their partners. This does, of course, depend on what each individual considers to be unfaithful. Sex addicts want ownership. The emotional intimacy and vulnerability required to develop a bond or healthy relationship is often too overwhelming for an individual with sex addiction or porn addiction. Consequently, the partner often feels used or objectified. This can lead to feelings of rejection and loneliness. Loneliness is a serious undercurrent of sex and porn addiction and can lead to severe depression, anxiety, and suicidal thoughts. Rebuilding trust after sex addiction and porn addiction is possible, but it requires work from both partners. The man has to be in recovery, and the woman must process her trauma related to the infidelity and feel emotionally safe in the relationship. Reasons to leave. Your partner continues to deny their addiction. Your partner won't accept responsibility for their addiction. Your partner refuses to work at the cause of their addiction. There has been violence or domestic abuse. The relationship was already in difficulty before the disclosure. It is important to remember that sexually addictive behavior is often a result of sexual abuse or sexual assault. Similarly, sex addicts sometimes use sex to escape negative feelings of low self-worth, disconnection, and depression. Sexual bonding in an intimate relationship can be too difficult for an addict to do comfortably. They often keep an emotional distance, although they are attracted physically to their partner. The addict may also be emotionally absent during sex, lost in fantasy, or they may avoid sex altogether. Sex addiction and porn addiction is treatable through changing your behavior and by retraining your brain to accept the normal by remapping your brain's neural networks. They are self-treatable if you understand your biological triggers and how to manage and control them. The perversions of COINTELPRO are notable. The murderous and sadistic ethos of government counterproliferation programs echoes that of the Nazis, and this perpetrator network of war criminals are committing sickening acts upon the global population. Some common external triggers for sex addicts within the gang stalking hypersimulation are exposure to sexual imagery, but it doesn't have to be done directly. The idea within the PSYOP is to do this in a way that is subtle enough to offer plausible deniability, but often enough to make it an obvious addiction amongst both the perpetrator's gang stalking and the sex addict. This is how rape culture is manufactured. Other triggers include sexpionage, neurolinguistic programming, inappropriate use of body language to induce sexual aggression in men, trauma bonds, street theater, soul ties, twin flame claims, intrusive thoughts, sexual trauma anchoring, external stimuli that is sexual, somatic therapy, easy access, sexual impulses towards strangers, an excess of free time, solitude, solo travel, relationship troubles, sudden changes in your work or finances, sudden loss or personal tragedy, drug or alcohol use, women inappropriately dressed and dramatically sweating in gym clothes, exposure to yoga poses, pornography, prolonged exposure therapy, narrative exposure therapy, any community-based therapies that put the sexual trauma back into the context. A person may have a sex addiction if they show some or all of the following signs: chronic obsessive sexual thoughts and or fantasies, impulsive sexual relations with multiple partners, including strangers, or compulsively engages in sexual misconduct in front of their partner. Trauma bonding. Trauma bonding is a psychological response to abuse. The person experiencing abuse may develop sympathy for the abuser, which becomes reinforced by cycles of abuse followed by remorse. Trauma bonding occurs when the abused person forms a connection or a relationship with the person who abuses them. Trauma bonds are emotionally abusive connections that develop out of a repeated cycle of abuse, devaluation, and positive reinforcements that begin with a shower of affection, attention, or false assurances of love. This is also called love bombing. Trauma bonding occurs when a narcissist repeats a cycle of abuse with a victim, which fuels a need for validation, love, and attention. Trauma bonding often happens in romantic relationships. However, it can also occur between colleagues, non-romantic family members, and friends. The four main neurochemicals that are primary drivers underlining the trauma bond. An example: dopamine, opioids, adrenocorticotropic releasing factors, and oxytocin. Often when a person is traumatized by an abusive partner or an experience, these chemicals become significantly dysregulated. Trauma bonding is so powerful because a trauma bond is characterized by cycles of negative reinforcement with occasional bursts of positive reinforcement. This so-called intermittent reinforcement makes it very difficult to leave an abusive relationship. Frequently, victims in trauma bonds do not have agency, autonomy, or an individual sense of self. Their self-image is an internalization of the abuser's conceptualization of them. Trauma bonds have severe detrimental effects on the victim. In a trauma bond, you might justify abusive behavior to cover for the abuser. You might tolerate the abuse to please the abuser. Victims may experience a disconnect from their own reality, feelings, desires, and sense of identity, left to feel trapped in the cycle of trauma bonding with no clear way out. This stage is marked by deep emotional pain and turmoil, rejection, fear of abandonment, etc. A trauma bond is an emotional attachment that can occur or form in an abusive relationship, specifically the connection the victim feels towards the perpetrator. Some signs of trauma bonding include justifying or defending the abuser, justifying or defending the abuser's sexual misconduct, trying to cover for the abuser, lying to protect the abuser, wanting to help the abuser, wanting to sexually please the abuser, blaming others for the abuse, trivializing the abuse, being willing to forgive the abuse in exchange for sex, affection, or attention and validation, refusing to stop the abuse, isolating to avoid conflict, projecting undesired sexual frustrations, placating to please the abuser's low self-worth. Sex addiction is derived from sexual insecurities. Sex addiction leads to a life of incompetence. Signs of cognitive dissonance. Questioning the decisions you've made, questioning the life decisions you've made, questioning your reality, questioning life based on environmental or social pressure. To question is to express doubt about something or someone. To question a situation or problem that needs to be addressed and or considered. Beg the question, to coerce or make someone want to ask a question, or beg the question that has not been answered. Such as, for instance, or for an example, are you sleeping with her? Do you want to? Why are you sexually pursuing her? Have you entertained the idea of being intimate with other women? Is there a reason for this sexual misconduct, or are you both just sexually deranged? Psychosadists derive sexual pleasure from its victim's torment, and in some more severe cases, even murder. Experiencing discomfort because your values don't coincide with your environment. Experiencing sexual discomfort because your values don't coincide with your environmentalist. Experiencing sexual frustrations because your values don't coincide with your environmentalist. Experiencing sexual impulses because your values don't coincide with your environmentalist. Values. Values are individual beliefs that motivate people to act one way or another. Because your core values don't align with your environmentalist. Because your family values don't support the sexual predator stalking. Because your relationship doesn't coincide with your environmentalist. Feeling guilt or shame based on your decisions or beliefs. Feeling guilt or shame based on your sexual compulsions. Feeling guilt or shame for liking it. Feeling guilt or shame for reacting impulsively instead of responding appropriately. Shame or embarrassment regarding a decision and hiding said decision from others. Shame or embarrassment regarding sexual arousal and denying it to others. Shame or embarrassment regarding sexual affairs and hiding it from others. Shame or embarrassment for sexual intrusions and hiding it from others. Shame or embarrassment for sex addiction and hiding it from others. Doing something out of social pressure, not true interest. Cognitive dissonance, the power of wanting what you can't have. Alright, so I just put some commentary notes in here. Alright, so cognitive dissonance, the power of wanting what you can't have. So the feelings that are left after the ambush, after the street theater, the emotions are weaponized and exploited. And then a hate crime, it is incited from the outside and penetrates and makes its way in. That's what a directed energy weapon is. And this is just some of the feelings that are left as to linger as residue, if you will, spiritual residue, demonic presence, a force that can break through every single structure undetected. A demonic, omnipotent presence, exactly and precisely how the handbook says. A directed energy weapon. Alright, so it is actually using cognitive dissonance to incite these feelings, to provoke these feelings, to influence these emotions. And so I wrote down some. I wanted to go over this list again more thoroughly, so I haven't finished it yet. But this is just the start of the list and how the female trafficked victim is made to feel emotionally. Okay, so some of the emotions that are being provoked, just some of the emotions that are being influenced and manipulated. Leave her for me, leave her at home, abandon her for me, use her, reject her for me, belittle her, betray her for me, demonize her, deny her for me, speak death to her, lie to her for me, exploit her, punish her for me, degrade her health, torture her for me, make her pay, blame her for me, scare her, gaslight her for me, make her go crazy, invalidate her for me, intimidate her, threaten her life for me, abuse her, threaten her safety for me, sabotage her relationship for me, kill her confidence, force her will for me, trivialize her feelings, kill her for me, drive her insane, make her kill herself for me, because this omnipotent demonic spirit that is saying all of this without even saying anything at all. This is a directed energy weapon. So these are the feelings that it is provoking. This is what it is inciting. This isn't even all of it. This isn't even the full scope of it. This is just a very short list. And this is all done because this demonic presence, all of these traffickers, they are jealous. It's a sexually and politically motivated hate crime. Hate crimes are done by criminals who are petty, insecure, inadequate, and rightfully so, because they are jealous. And rightfully so. Difficulty rationalizing or justifying your actions or the actions of others. Difficulty controlling your actions, difficulty controlling your thoughts, difficulty controlling your emotions. Creating inconsistencies between commitment and information. So this is really important because when when it's sending honeypots out to stage a psychological collapse and to try to sabotage public appearances, what it is actually doing in the male is creating a narcissistic injury because of the lack of consistency between commitment and information given. The only thing that is consistent is the fact that there's ongoing rejection between the honeypot and between the male partner. And so this creates, because it's using sex as an anchor, it creates a trauma bond. And this trauma bond, using sex as an anchor with the sex addict, is how they are controlling him. And so because it creates inconsistencies, it also creates a narcissistic wound or injury. That is why they go to Pornhub and develop a porn addiction as well. So whereas they just had a sex addiction before, now they have a sex and a porn addiction. And so, so manufacturing a narcissistic injury or wound when subjected to sexual exploitation by this rape culture. And this does incite feelings of rejection and a fear of abandonment. That's why it's being done as a form of torture. And this is also too why they synchronize and watch porn. So this is how they are creating sexual predators. And the sexual frustrations will be projected onto the female target, while everybody involved will, of course, deny that any hate crime occurred. Of course. And that will always be the case. You will feel guilty as a result. You will feel dirty as a result. You will feel poisoned as a result. And you will feel used as a result. And I say this not only for the sex addict who's facilitating the psychological gas chamber at the behest of the sexual exploiters, traffickers, gang stalkers, and also too for the perpetuators who themselves are sex addicts. That's why they're doing this, because they get sexual gratification tormenting their victims. So that's why they're doing this.